War on Al-Shabaab in Somalia has reached a critical stage. The AMISOM peacekeeping troops could surrender the security responsibility to the Somali National Army as soon as 2020. Now, the Horn of Africa's state of Somalia has experienced ravages of war and insecurity for more than 2 decades now. And in that time, there has been transitional government structures that have tried to rebuild the nation, but very little success. Leila Mohammed has returned from Somalia and brings us the details of a country struggling to regain peace for the sake of its future generations.
The smell of the sea unmistakably wafts through the streets of Mogadishu. As with other major African cities, the traffic in Somalia's capital can be chaotic, compounding the nightmare for AMISOM troops, providing security to VIPs.
The main street, Makkah Mukarramah, that we were traveling, on the other side, 100 meters away, Al-Shabaab used to there. So whenever we cross any junction on the street, the car, we used to say, drive as fast as you can in order to miss the bullet coming from the junctions.
It is a journey across what were once enemy lines, but nothing is certain in a country that still bears the marks of a conflict over 2 decades old. Mogadishu is a city at a crossroads. On one hand, it appears caught in its past. On the other, struggling to break into the future.
There are many spaces where Al-Shabaab can hide, but we have created a space where life is possible.
The Aden Abdullah International Airport has seen an increase in traffic. Since the AMISOM and UN mission set up base here, there have been more international flights, opening up business opportunities.
Before AMISOM came here, you know how the situation was. There was nothing functioning, there was no government here.
But for those who fled Mogadishu in 1991 and settled in Europe and the United States like Abdirahman Omar Osman, making the bold step to come home and rebuild Somalia was a decision not even supported by his own family.
We see the much progress, but yet we also see how the terrorist groups are desperate and really killing the hope of the people.
Mayor Osman, who is also the governor of Harar, which is another name of Mogadishu, says that in the last 10 years that the AMISOM troops have been offering their service, Mogadishu has come back to life, encouraging many like him who had fled the country more than 27 years ago to come back and rebuild their mother country.
People understand that your brother or your sister can help you, but not very long.
We would like to see the systems of what we call the security sector reforms coming up. For example, the development of the judicial systems, prisons, police, and then semblance of some governance coming in.
But with a new hope also comes a new challenge that the mayor, who has served in many government capacities, says will take time to get fixed.
We have over 500,000 internal displaced people in the city. The city faces the war against terrorists.
Mayor Abdirahman is optimistic that in the next few years, Somalia will have moved a step closer to getting a grip on its internal administration, whose base solely relies on a secure nation.
It's about other areas running efficiently. The economic line, you see, investments, you see revenue generation.
Major General retired Lucas Tumbo, the man in charge of the diplomatic affairs between the two neighboring countries, says that Kenya is doing much more than just aiding in security matters inside Somalia. He puts the number of Kenyans living inside her northeastern sister at 35,000. A big chunk of this living in Hargeisa. Mogadishu has low numbers of only 3,000 Kenyans.
They are involved in hospitality industry, education, health, in non-government organizations.
The streets of Mogadishu and those of major towns in the 6 sector regions marked out by African Union are manned by a strong military and police force from the rest of the continent.
The need for capacity building in terms of personnel and infrastructure of the security forces of Somalia.
Before Operation Linda Inchi, which saw Kenyan soldiers venture into Somalia on October 14, 2011, only Burundi and Ugandan troops were conducting peacekeeping and security operations in this country. With 4 East African countries here 10 years later, the force commanders say their presence has changed life for ordinary Somali people.
Sooner or later, the objective that brought us here was achieved. We have to go home. So we would have to transition and we have to move.
For the last 2 decades, Somalia has been struggling to get back her life, but the threat of Al-Shabaab, natural disasters and a fragile economy have conspired to make this attempt futile at best.
We are dealing with an enemy that is really irregular. That's why it's an asymmetric warfare. And asymmetric is irregular. Irregular means that you cannot see the enemy fronts or depths or whatever. He is everywhere.
But with a renewed hope of holding her first general election in 2020, her African siblings hope that by then all the investment they have put into the security sector will have bore fruit ready for the Somali National Army to take charge, and maybe AMISOM might pack up after 10 years and leave Somalia.
For us, what we want is African forces to leave when our country is ready.
But for this to happen, Somalia must be committed to ensuring that the common threat to both government and the people has been dealt with. AMISOM says with a 20,000-man army, they have done their best considering their shortfall.
We are trying to achieve what we call achieving the mostest with the leastest. What we have achieved now in terms of enabling peace and security in this country, as at now, we can say that the job has been done.
With Mogadishu gearing up for its first transition of power via a general vote in 2 years' time, the troops in this sector are also aware of the events. Sector 2 Commander Brigadier Mombori is, however, a worried man that the United Nations might be beginning the party way too early without figuring out the logistical challenges.
They should delay the drawdown until the force, which they stated that they will recruit 1,000 for each region to be able to come in support of the AMISOM troops.
If no decision is taken to reverse this current decision, we will have to comply.
The Security Council of the United Nations has authorized the African Union to reduce AMISOM troops to roughly 20,600 personnel by October 30, 2018. In October 2017, the first batch of 1,000 troops was pulled out of the AMISOM force in Somalia. Plans are underway for a full withdrawal of foreign troops by December 2020. Sector commanders have already begun the preliminary meetings in Mogadishu to plan ahead, but heads of state and ministers from the main troop contributors, including Burundi, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya and Uganda, have expressed their concerns over the move, terming it as a rash decision.
The heads of state of the African Union have decided that for them to achieve their objective of successfully implementing Agenda 2063, it is important that Somalia becomes peaceful.
Brigadier Mamburi says that in the recent past, youth who have joined the Al-Shabaab outfit have come back and have gone through a rehabilitation program in Kismayu before being readmitted to the society. Many kilometers away, the port city of Kismayu looks beautiful from the skies. In the last few years since the KDF took over the city, life has been slowly coming back to near normalcy.
International companies that are interested to invest and also to work at Kismayu Airport, and we have a plan and the way to expand the airport building. We expect before the end of this year.
The Kismayu Airport sees more flights connecting not only Somali cities but the rest of East Africa. With a renewed sense of hope, the port of Kismayu is also expecting to see more ships dock here, bringing more goods that will see the place flourish and wipe away remnants of a war that has ravaged this country for many years.
At the moment, we have business cargo and ships from the international, international ships coming from the MC, one of the biggest ships so far. And this is one of the tangible progress that we can see today.
In Kismayu City, life is picking up from where the war left off decades ago. Businesses remain open in the lunchtime rush hour. The traffic nightmare here is not to the levels of other cities like Nairobi or Lagos, but the enthusiasm that the people here have shown towards rebuilding their lives is immense.
Al-Shabaab, the head of snake, is in this area because of geographical environment. We cannot liberate this area and take this offensive. Even the border of the Kenya and Ethiopia, it cannot be Sakoa.
While Kenyan troops are keeping the peace in 3 of the 6 sectors under the AMISOM command, some Kenyan citizens are doing the same in Somali police uniforms.
Cooperate na sisi kazi. Kwa wanakubaliana na sisi kazi na wanafurahia kazi yetu vile tunafanya nao.
They are hoping that by 2020, the people of Somalia will be able to take charge of their own destiny. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Somalia.